What is up, guys? Teddy Cornwell here. Welcome to the Underdog Talk, the most underrated podcast on earth. But I mean, you see him, an absolute beast. You guys know him, Homewood High School superstar, NFL kick return leader in 2015, first team All Big Ten. The man, Ft.Ameer, Ameer Abdullah. What is up, sir? How you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. Just got done training. Back home now, getting ready for my second one in a couple hours. So I'm happy to join the podcast, bro.
Damn, two trainings in one day, guys. I mean,
Always.
I can barely get one in now. I'm playing, but I mean, now Amir, before we start, I gotta address the elephant in the room. We posted a picture about you coming on the podcast and used your scouting combine picture. Now, I think it looked great. What photo would you wanted us to use, sir? Come on now.
Hey, man, I was just kind of confused about you guys' marketing strategy, man. I'm just trying to help a friend. I'm like, all right, you're bringing a guy on today, but you're using a photo that's 10 years old. It's kind of like maybe, it's hard to connect with some of the fans. I'm just saying, I was trying to figure out what was that? Was that a ploy? Was that something that you were trying to jab at me? Either way, it's funny as shit to me. Either way, but hey,
Yeah.
man, I'm just trying to help a friend.
Hey, I'm not that smart to know the marketing. I just thought you looked fucking cool, and I mean, in the Under Armour scouting combine, you can't go wrong with it. Also, my thing is, you've been on so many NFL teams. I didn't know what team you would want me to use.
That's fair. That's a fair point. That is a fair point.
That's what I think. I'd be like, the Lions, I mean, that'd be dope, but the Raiders, the Panthers, I mean, shit, connect the dots. Like, I could have done either. You look good in all the uniforms. I probably should have just gone to Nebraska and played it safe. So, note to self on that.
That's always a safe bet. The alma mater is always a safe bet.
And taking it back to the college days, man, you were offered football scholarships from several schools, namely the powerhouse Bama, and then also Auburn. But
I didn't have an offer from Bama or Auburn. I didn't.
Really?
No,
they didn't want you to play cornerback.
Yeah, I played corner. Auburn actually wanted me to come on and visit after they won the championship that year.
Okay.
It was the year that Cam went on that run where, kind of one and done the thing and kind of made Auburn this powerhouse that was pretty good at recruiting for a while. But, bro, I mean, it's interesting that this podcast is called The Underdog because, like, bro, I've honestly been an underdog my whole life. It's interesting, the intro that you gave me, saying all Big Ten is kickoff return leader in 2015. All those things are, like, they're cool, but I feel like I've always kind of just expected those things for myself, mainly because I've come from a place where people don't really expect much from me. Like, I didn't get my first high school offer until after my senior year in high school. After the season was over, I led the state in rushing, everything, man. But I don't know if it was my recruiting tactics or not sending out the film at the right time or whatever. It just wasn't hitting. Obviously, other people thinking that maybe his frame wouldn't fill out to what it has, and maybe that played a little bit into it. But truth of the matter is, bro, the biggest offer I had was Nebraska. The next biggest offer I really had at running back was Middle Tennessee, Southern Miss. And I actually was considering going to Southern Miss just because it was closer to home. They were good. Larry Fedora was their coach at the time. They had put together some conference USA championships. It's guys who go to the league from Southern Miss. So I'm like, all right, I could do that. But Coach Bo Pelini just really won me over with his character and like what he really saw me as. And he was the first person from a major, 4-year institution that really saw me as a running back. So, dude, no, I didn't have a Bama offer, man. I didn't have an Auburn offer. I wasn't a high recruit like that.
Well, my research lies to me, but obviously, fuck research. You balled out at Nebraska, and there's nothing to say about that. Obviously, you had that chip on your shoulder, and I mean, the words Ft.Ameer came into every college football fan's nightmare. College, sir. I don't know what you're talking about being the underdog. You balled out. I mean, obviously, the underdog mentality is key, but 3 seasons with over 1,000 yards and then 2 with, above 1,500. So obviously, anyone who's underrating you, sir, does not know football. And I mean, what was your experience at Nebraska like coming from obviously that underdog mentality in high school, not getting that offer to showing what you were made of?
It was honestly the best thing for me coming into a situation not really seen as someone who's going to play right away, which I end up doing. I also signed in that recruiting class in 2011 with a guy named Aaron Green, who was a five-star running back. He was one of the top running backs in the country. And then a late enrollee from the previous signing class, a guy named Braylon Hurd, who was actually, I think he was like a top 10 running back in his class the year before. And then Rex Burkhead was there. Obviously Rex Burkhead is still playing now. Great running back, great friend of mine, someone who I've always seen as a great mentor and friend of mine. So there was a loaded backfield, definitely a loaded backfield. But I saw an opportunity. I saw an opportunity to play the position I wanted to at the next level. And that's all I really needed. One thing my dad used to always tell me is, man, you just need a foot in the door. Once you get a foot in the door, he believed in my work ethic. He believed in just my consistency and purpose to put myself in a position to at least have an opportunity to make something happen. And what you do with that opportunity, that's between you and God. That's between you and God. But going into that situation with two other running backs who are freshmen who are highly touted, and you kind of know how that goes. If you're a higher recruit, you kind of get the more opportunities than someone who's less of a recruit. It was dog eat dog, man. Like that. I remember that first summer I came in and immediately looking at the depth chart, they had me at fourth string. It was fourth string behind Braylon, Aaron, Rex Burkhead. That was it. It was Aaron, Braylon, it was Rex Burkhead, Aaron, Braylon, and Ameer Abdullah. So, I mean, you're looking at potentially redshirting your freshman year. And something I really didn't want to do was redshirt just because I've always saw myself as 3 and out. I saw myself as 3 and out, which ended up changing, was another story we can get into later. But that first summer, man, I just did everything I could to stand out. And that was returning punts. That was returning kicks. That was being really dynamic in the passing game. And then obviously when I got the ball in my hand, just trying to make people miss. And that first summer, I think I gained the respect of the older classmen like Levante David, Will Compton, Jared Cricks, the Alfonso Denards. We had a lot of great defensive players that are playing in the NFL. And I think just the respect I gained from them really changed the lens on what I could be for the University of Nebraska in my freshman year. So I end up winning that second job. By the end of camp, I ended up winning the second, job behind Rex, and I was a freshman All-American as a returner, my freshman year. And from there, I just tried to continue and repeat the same template that I kind of set out the summer before. Going into my sophomore year, I was behind Rex again. And I knew, like, hey, this guy is an NFL prototypical running back. I need to follow everything that he's doing. I need to watch how he eats. I need to watch how he watches film. I need to study how he rests, everything, follow him everywhere he went, honestly, almost. And it really paid off because I think he's a consummate professional. I definitely want to give so much respect to Rex Burkhead because the way he carries himself, he's always kind of been a quiet assassin himself, kind of in the underdog, role where you don't see him in the news much doing a lot of things, but on the field, he's always been productive. He was productive for Cincinnati, productive for the Patriots. He's now in Houston, played some good ball in Houston. Now he's looking at an 11, 10-year career, which is a heck of a career for a running back, specifically this year in this day and age, that I kind of, took his template and copied it and, fixed a couple of things to make it make sense for me. And every summer, man, I just gave everything I had. And the good thing about Lincoln is it ain't shit going on in Lincoln, Nebraska. So it's not hard to focus on football because it's like outside of football, it ain't much going on. It ain't like you're at the University of Southern California where you're in LA and you can go to Hollywood and you can enjoy this, that, and the third. It's either you shucking corn or you running the football. So it's like, I'll just run the football. I'll rather just run the football. So it wasn't very hard to focus, which is my recruiting pitch to a lot of kids who are really serious about the grind, really serious about trying to hop on a journey and take your life to another path. If you want just the notoriety, if you want to just have fun, if you just want to ride the wave of being a college athlete, cool, man. Go to some of these other institutions that can bring you kind of the the all the fun and all the parties and things like that. But if you want an institution that's going to be all about football, the fans absolutely love you. Anything you do in Lincoln, Nebraska, if you're a football player, you're going to be taken care of. So that also helps with the NIL deals these days. Go to the University of Nebraska, man. You're going to be able to focus, play high level football, and have an opportunity to make NIL money while still being focused on your job. And I think that's a lot that needs to go into some of these kids' decision making today. But for me, hey man, I honestly have taken more time recently to reflect on just how impactful my time in Nebraska was. Because when you're in it, you can't really fathom what is happening. But I just going back to my senior year, homecoming, having a band spell out Ft.Ameer for me on the field, things like that. They mean a lot to you because you leave an imprint that definitely all time is going to be in the record books. But for a lot of those kids who were in school at that time, those stories are going to live forever. Where, when I continue on my journey and the rest of my life, and maybe I'm doing something else, they say, hey, I remember I went to college with that guy and I watched the game and he scored a winning touchdown against McNeese State or whatever. And those are the stories that really make me feel the most accomplished and satisfied with my football experience, so.
Well, I mean, few things. It's good maybe you didn't go to Bama. I mean, that Tuscaloosa. I mean, there's something about that. And obviously, I've realized why I put that scouting combine picture. It was to show how versatile you are in the NFL and how long you've been in the NFL. There's my answer for you, sir. I think that ties in, and I think you're also underselling yourself. Yeah, I think you're underselling yourself is because you're a pretty damn good NFL player too, man. And I got to pop up that line.
I can play some ball.
You can play some ball. I mean, you're kind of fast. Obviously, Detroit Lions, third round. I mean, or second round. I'm selling you under. I'm being an underdog. 54 pick. What were your thoughts on being an NFL athlete, being an NFL pro, and then obviously teaming up with two legends in Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson, your rookie year in Detroit?
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday, man. We were having a little draft party. I knew from talking to a lot of teams that I was going to go anywhere between first to third round. Some teams had first round grades on me, but you know how the running back position is. Not many running backs go first round. I think that year we had Todd Gurley and Melvin Gordon. And then I had gotten a call from the Patriots when Melvin got picked, and they said they were considering me with that 32nd pick. They had the last pick in the first round. They ended up picking Malcolm Brown from Texas, D tackle.
Yes.
So after that, I was like, all right, we didn't go first round. That would have been great. First round would have been great, but we knew somewhere between the second and third round was where we were going to fall. So we were having a party at my sister's house in Ft.Ameer, Alabama. And at the top of the second round, the Arizona Cardinals called me. And it's a funny story because I've known Bruce Arians. He was the coach there at the time. Yep. I had known Bruce Arians since I was like 14 years old. And the reason why was because he used to host this high school camp in Hoover, Alabama. And I got MVP, I think, when I was 15 at that camp. And, kind of jokingly and encouragingly, he was like, you're going to play in the NFL one day. And I played corner at that camp, actually. I didn't even play running back. Ooh. And I got MVP the whole camp. I went nuts, had like 7 picks, like something crazy. Like the quarterbacks definitely loved me that day. But he told me I was going to play in the NFL. Man, you fast forward, that's got to be at least 8 years go by. It's the NFL draft. And he calls me at the top of the second, and they have the 53rd pick. The 53rd pick, right before Detroit. Oh, no, the 55th pick. They had the 55th. Excuse me, 55th, right after Detroit. And he was like, Ameer, stay on the phone. We're trying to trade up to get you now because we know a couple teams had you slotted in the second round interest. I think a couple other teams that had me were interested in me were Jacksonville, which they ended up choosing TJ Yeldon before me. They chose TJ Yeldon. So I took them off. I forgot the other teams they were references. I don't want to go on a tangent anyways. I'm on the phone with them for almost the entirety of the second round. I go outside because I'm super excited. I'm like, forget the hell of the rest of these picks. I'm about to go to Arizona, no state income tax. Like it's hot. I can deal with that. And my brother, who was my agent at the time, comes running outside and it's the 54th pick, and he says, Detroit is calling my line. And I'm like, what? And I have to tell Bruce Arians, like, Detroit is calling me. And it's funny because he was like, don't pick it up. Don't pick it up. But my brother picks up the phone, and it's Detroit. It's Coach Jim Caldwell, who I have a lot of respect for.
Yes.
He was like, hey, Ameer, we're going to take you with our 54th pick. Congratulations, you're a Detroit Lion. So I'm on hold with Bruce Arians on this end, on the phone with Jim Caldwell right here, accepting. Obviously, I'm glad he gets drafted. But honestly, I was a little emotionally torn because I had already kind of invested in the Cardinals. So initially, when I got drafted to Detroit, it was a little of a weird feeling, but I had to kind of settle in of like, I'm still grateful. God is good. He's brought me to this point to be a second-round pick for a team that needs a back. They had just gotten rid of Reggie Bush, I want to say. They had just signed Joyke Bell to an extension. They needed someone Theo, to tag up with those guys. So that was a crazy little whirlwind right there. I mean, my experience in Detroit was very interesting, man. It was very interesting. I had a pretty solid rookie year where all-purpose, I ended up with almost 1,000 yards all-purpose, all around. Led the league, like you said, in kickoff return that rookie year. Second year, unfortunately, I tore my Liz Frank, which was a bummer because those first 2 games, man, I was having a really good year. I had like 3 touchdowns in 2 games, tore my Liz Frank. Then that third year we come in and things start to change. And this is what I've learned about the NFL the most in my experience is you can't take anything personal. Yep. It's very business. Where after my second year, Caldwell got fired. Oh man, no, he didn't get fired. They fired the general manager, Martin Mayhew, who was the guy who drafted me. So they bring in Bob Quinn. We go into the third year, and we're doing okay. I think around like the 7th game, I had like 600 yards rushing, but we weren't going to make the playoffs. And you kind of could feel like we're about to start shaking stuff up. And that's what teams do when they kind of get to a space where they're kind of plateaued. They traded Golden Tate that year. They started making a lot of moves. And from chirping on the walls, I heard they were, looking to trade me as well, which I had no problem with because at that point in time, like I never really felt like Detroit had a true understanding of how to use me necessarily. I think when they drafted me, they definitely wanted me to be the every down third, 3 down back, which is fine. But I just feel like our system didn't really allow me to flourish in that space. I've always felt like if we would have kept, well, let me not say that because I don't want to disrespect anybody along the route. But like, in my opinion, if they would have used me more like how the Chargers used Austin Eckler, I think they would have got a lot more value out of me, and I think I could have been a lot better player for Detroit during my time, as opposed to they had me and Theo Reddick, and Theo was one of the best receiving backs I've been around. Great receiver, but now, which is ironic, I am a receiving back in the league. Like for the Raiders, I'm their receiving back. So you had, in my opinion, they had a guy who could run the ball but also receive, similar to an Eckler. Yes. And I feel like if they would have used me in that capacity, they would have got more volume out of me. However, they only ran with me, which was good for me because I got handoffs. But our O-line wasn't quite what Detroit's O-line is now. Yes. Like they definitely end up spending a lot of money, which is good for them because that's where I think where Stafford struggled early. Just he was sacked a lot. Our O-line didn't necessarily have the guys up front to really just run duo schemes and all the schemes we were running. I thought they could have got more out of me from a all-purpose standpoint, which kind of put me in a loop because that next year, going into my 4th year, they signed LeGarrette Blount and drafted Kerryon Johnson in the 2nd round, which the writing's on the wall. When you draft a guy in the 2nd round, they're moving on. And what I've learned in my experience in the NFL is you can't take any of that stuff personal. You got to kind of understand, like, hey, man, it didn't work out here, but you got more ball if you have the mental fortitude in the understanding and belief in yourself to keep it going. So, like, I ended up with Minnesota, which was an even more loaded backfield, at the time where we had Latavius Murray, Dalvin Cook, myself, this guy named Mike Boone, who I think is very underrated. Very underrated player. So I'm scrapping. I'm getting in sparingly on some like third and long stuff, and I'm doing a lot of return work, which spiritually I think I grew the most when I was in Minnesota. Because to your point, you go from Nebraska, underdog, kind of build a name from yourself, to now a guy in the league that's like, hey, I'm just trying to stay around. I'm trying to stay around. So spiritually, I had to kind of ground myself in principles of like, why do I play this game? Why do I love it? Is it to just be the star, or is it to be someone who can really not only change the outlook and future for my family, but just change the confidence I have as a professional moving on in any medium I choose in life? Because you're going to hit roadblocks, you're going to hit dead ends, where if you just sit down and you pout and you soak at that dead end, your journey ends there. But if you turn around, go back the other way, maybe retract your steps, say, okay, I went this way last time, maybe let me go this way, you will know that there's so many more paths that you can choose, and so much more endurance you have as a person that can take you much further than just a game of football. So I would say in Minnesota, spiritually, I kind of understood that. And I think, my commitment to prayer, my commitment to working as hard as I could, lifted me out of that space where naturally in my third year in Minnesota, I was able to request my release to go to the Panthers.
Yeah.
And when that happened, it was very good timing, because Christian McCaffrey was dealing with some injuries, and the way they used Christian was very similar to what kind of player that I always felt like I should have been used in that magnitude. Maybe eight carries a game, 7 catches a game. 15 touches total, but split up, not just 15 carries, but split that up in passes and runs. And I was able to go to Carolina, who we were struggling at the time, but I played some of my better football of my career in like a 9-game spurt with the Carolina Panthers, which birthed the opportunity for me to go with Josh McDaniels now in the Raiders.
Yeah.
When I was signed with them last year, they were like, hey, man, we saw a lot of the stuff you did in the passing game with the Panthers. And, we use guys like Danny Woodhead. We use guys like James White, Rex Burkhead in the passing game, where if I team up with a Josh Jacobs, who's mainly the runner, I could come in and be a great third down safety valve for the quarterback and protection. I'm a veteran, so I understand defensive schemes a lot more. I'm a little bit more cerebral now. So I think it just, it was the perfect fit. But I would have never saw that perfect fit if I would have gave up after Detroit cut me. Because make no mistake about it, Detroit cut me, man. Like my going into my 4th year, I was finally coming back from my Liz Frank, because that 3rd year I was still kind of gimpy, if I'm being honest. That's a pretty significant injury, where I like to describe it as the ACL of the foot. So I tore my ACL of my foot my 2nd year. That 3rd year in Detroit, I wasn't totally confident to always cut off that leg. But that next year, that 4th year, I felt good, man. I felt really good. However, the entire administration changed. Matt Patricia came in, GMs came in, they drafted 2 other backs. So they kind of had their guys. And coming out of that training camp, I felt like I competed, but naturally I wasn't out there. The carry-on was starting and LeGarrette was behind him. Yep. So I naturally just wasn't in that rotation, but I knew I had a lot of good ball left. I could have packed it up then. I could have been like, man, this is unfair, man. They should give me a chance, pouting and all that stuff. But I really saw it as like, you know what, this is just redirection. This is a dead end, but I'm going to turn around, retract my steps, like I said, and find that new path. So now I'm with the Raiders. I just re-signed with them. Another 1-year deal with a little bit more money in my pocket now. So anytime teams pay you a little bit more money, it's good to know that they actually want to win the equation. So I expect my volume to be up even more. And shoot, man, I'm going into year 9. So it's like, look, bro, God is good, man.
Damn, and if you want a good fantasy sleeper this upcoming season, I mean, I don't think anyone else is going to be a better sleeper than Ameer. I mean, Josh McDaniels in the Patriots. I mean, you had so many running backs who would just go catch, receive. And I mean, that was what it was almost like they were meant for. Rex, obviously. Sony Michel, I think, was even an amazing catch.
Sony Michel.
Run. I mean, it was a beautiful game. And now to add on to your thing, I think you are the true pro. I think people don't understand that, you mentioned Rex, shout out Rex, a true pro, someone who's there for the team, someone who is there to support his family, someone who there does the work, grinds every day, shows up, contributes. I think people have this thing, if you're not, Tom Brady in the NFL or Patrick Mahomes, you're a nobody.
Right.
But it's almost like it is a team sport. And everyone, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, and everyone always blames Tony Romo for not making the playoffs, making the playoffs, actually losing. And then I go, it's a team sport. One player can control the game, but the team wins the game. And I think that's so important. Now, what comes to mind when I say first carry in the NFL? Because I want people to know this. First carry in the NFL.
Man, my first carry in the NFL was a 33. I want to say it was either 27. For some reason, these two numbers stick out. It was either 27 or 33-yard run where I broke down Eric Weddle in the middle of the field, and I scored my very first carry.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most exhilarating moments of my life, not just because it was my first carry in the NFL, but it was the first time that I have a cousin. Her name is Victoria Monet. She's actually a famous singer now. And it was me and her when we were young. We were really, really, really close. But she moved from Alabama, because where I'm from, to Sacramento. So, we go our separate ways, and we kind of meet back up at this place of like at the top of our, careers in the entertainment field, me being athletic, her being a singer. And it was her first time ever getting to see me play live, ever. And my first carry went for a 33-yard touchdown. So for me, it was kind of like a healthy competition of like, I'm doing my thing, make sure you're doing your thing too, and we're going to meet at the top. And she tells that story a lot better because she just remembers, like, she got to the stadium a little bit late, she said, and she had just sat down. It was an outside zone.
Yep.
I think our what was his name? Was this Manny? I think our center name was Manny. And he walled off the backside two technique pretty good. Cut off the backside. It was me and Eric Weddle.
Yep.
Boop, boop, boop. Gave him a quick 1, 2, 3. And it was a touchdown. First carry. Actually, that game statistically was actually really good for me. And honestly, it was the offensive coordinator at the time was Joe Lombardi. He's actually, I think he was the OC at the Chargers. I don't know if he's still there now.
No,
and he did some time with the Saints as well, where you saw what he did with Kamara. I honestly, if for all my Detroit fans, because I love Detroit. That's one thing like
Detroit
that I always rep. I love my time in Detroit, even though it ended shorter than I wanted it to. I love my time there because the people were great, the fans were good, and they took care of you. I honestly believe that if the way they kind of used me that first game with Joe Lombardi, if we could have built like a system for Stafford and me around that, kind of how like Drew Brees always had Kamara as his safety net as the check down, it could have been dangerous. Because I think that game I finished with like 65 rushing, and then I had another 47 receiving. And those are some of the games that you saw like early in McCaffrey's career. That's what he was doing. He'll have like 70 rushing, 40 receiving, a total of 110 on the day. And that's big games, as opposed to trying to get it all rushing. For me, it was kind of like I always only got carries. But I just specifically remember that game, like, man, that's a good balanced game right there where, like, the defense doesn't know how you're going to hit them. And I just that game was really – we ended up losing. I want to say we ended up losing that game. But it was also special because one of my good friends in life, Melvin Gordon, was the first-round pick for the Chargers on that side, and we competed in college all the time. Yep. So it was definitely like a little friendly competition in that game. And I want to say statistically I ended up with a little bit better game than him that game. But Melvin's definitely one of my favorite backs. Definitely one of my favorite backs. Smooth.
I mean, Wisconsin, Nebraska is a classic matchup, and you did kill it. 50 rushing yards, 4 catches for 44 yards. I mean, that's 9.5 plus a 6-yard. I mean, that's about 14 fantasy points right there, guys. I'm speaking fantasy, and
I don't speak fantasy.
So I know you know. We had Glover Quinn Jr. on the podcast.
Oh, that's my guy.
Shouted out Detroit. I mean, I think people think Detroit is, obviously notoriously lately they've been in a rough patch, but they're starting to look good with the fan base. I mean,
Yeah.
Bro, those are some humble, loyal fans. I would want to have them in my corner.
Yeah.
I would want to have
Fans
them
were
in my
great,
corner.
man. The fans were great, man. Like even in some of my low points of like, I had I want to say my rookie year, I had fumbling issues. I had like 6 fumbles or something like that my rookie year. A lot of fumbles my rookie year. And even then, of course, you got the fans that's going to get on your ass, which you kind of need that. You know what I mean? Like me, I don't, like I said, I don't take that stuff personal. It is what it is. I don't want to fumble. So it's like, I had to get that in order. You know what I mean? But even in those moments, I just remember the fans always having my back. So it's no surprise that Glover Quinn shouted them out too, because Glover was one of the best veterans I'd ever been around. Great veteran. He's always going to tell it to you straight. He's always going to give it to you straight. He's always going to make sure you're taken care of. And I think young guys like Aquandre Diggs really benefited a lot from having a Glover Quinn in the locker room, because look at Aquandre now. Detroit traded him. Traded him. And now he's been done nothing but make Pro Bowls and be one of the best safeties in the league. So it's like.
And you actually beat him in the Detroit Lions rookie. Well, I was going to say you were voted the Detroit Lions rookie of the year, and you were in the same draft class as him. So
and he had a great rookie year.
He had a great rookie year. So that's saying something. And I mean, you guys had some studs in that rookie year. You know, so what was it like playing with Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson as a rookie? I mean, that just had to be
crazy.
I mean, you're playing with obviously arguably one of the best wide receivers of all time, and then a stud at quarterback. What was that like?
Outside of Glover, I would say Calvin Johnson's the best veteran I've ever been around. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is just because he is one of the most humble and gentle souls you will ever be around. It's crazy because he's like 6'4", I'm probably short. He's probably like 6'5", 230, 235 or something like that. Fast, strong, very physical guy, plays with a lot of passion. But off the field, he's very just like a nurturing guy. Like if he sees, like, he can like feel your energy. He's like an empath. You know, if he feels like you're kind of like down, he'll come around you, ask you how you doing, you need any help. He would invite guys over his house. It didn't matter if you were the last pick or undrafted. You're invited to Calvin's house. Now, I will say this, just in case Calvin ever sees this podcast, I have the all-time ping pong one-on-one matchup record against him. I used to kick his ass in ping pong. That's the one thing he wasn't better than me at. I will tell you that for sure. But bowling, he's the best bowler I've ever seen. Calvin Johnson is the best. Him and Stafford were close, but I got to give it to CJ. CJ was the best bowler I've ever seen. But going back to like a football aspect, I just remember our rookie year, we start off like 1-7, and we end up making like a push to almost making the wild card, which was crazy. And the game that really turned it around was we were playing the Eagles at home. And Calvin Johnson, I think, finished that game with like 150, somewhere between 150 and 180, 3 touchdowns. And he was just snatching the ball top shelf over the corners' heads. And this is year 9 Calvin. Year 9 Calvin, where the year after, before he retired. Yeah. And he's still just treating DBs like they're just children at preschool. And I'm just sitting there like, man, this guy is what you call a unicorn, because he can play in any generation. Like if you look at some receivers back in the day, I have a hard time believing they would translate into the receiver position today, and vice versa. If you look at some receivers today, back in the more possession receiver time, because I like to say like Andre Johnson was like one of the last true possession receivers. Now we got a lot of guys that are all between like 5'10" to 6'1", who are very shifty, very fast, play the slot, play the outside, but they're not really a possession receiver. Maybe Mike Evans is like the real last one. I would say maybe Mike Evans a little bit, but even him, he's cultivated his game to play in the slot too. But when you look at CJ, he was part of that era of those bigger possession receivers. However, still today, if CJ was still playing today, like in his prime, he'll still dominate. Oh, yeah. He'll still dominate 100%.
Oh, no questions asked.
It's only a few guys that I look at in the history of football that's like, it don't matter what, and I think the quarterback position is definitely one of those positions you got to look at the time that they're playing. Yeah. Like, would some of these quarterbacks be as good as they were back then, and then vice versa? Like with a high voltage offenses that we have now, where you're throwing 50 to 60 times a game. You're in the shotgun a lot. You got all these different coverages now. You know, like, I don't know if some of those quarterbacks would be as good. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, I don't know if maybe a Josh Allen's game would translate to the days when they had to be more smash mouth football, because he's a move the pocket success guy. You know, like a lot of his success comes when he can improvise, move out of the pocket. Mahomes as well. You know, they're damn good at it, like very good at it, which makes them elite. But does that translate to a team that's under center 65, 70% of the time? I don't know. You know, so.
Well, you know, in my opinion, you are a class act and a damn good football player. I just have to say that. And winding down, you know, you've seen it all in the NFL. A vet. I mean, you are a 9-year vet. And what is your biggest tip for success, Ameer, for someone who is looking to make it from the college ball to the pro ball after what you've seen, what you've learned? What is your biggest tip, sir?
My biggest tip is going to be a quote. So, quote, I can never tie down who the hell said it, but I love it. Genius is persistence in disguise. I'll say that again. Ooh. Genius is persistence in disguise. Yes. Everyone wants to say that genius is the guy that, you know, once he pretty much achieves what he set out to do, at that moment, they claim him a genius. But they don't see the moments that he failed and failed and failed and didn't get what he wanted and was turned away, got nosed, got cut, got traded, all these different things. What they see is now, oh man, this dude just had an amazing season. So he's got to be a genius in some facet of his life. It's like, yes, but the genius is hidden within the persistence. It's the understanding of self that if you do this enough, eventually you're going to find yourself exactly where you're going to be, because you're going to learn what you did wrong or what you need to change and act on it. Continue to act on it. Continue to believe. Continue to stay consistent and persistent in your ambition to achieve whatever you want, and you can be a genius. That's why, I mean, I think that's the greatest advice I can give anybody. It's like, man, if you really want something, be ready to be told no, but be ready to get right back on it after you hear that no. Have to.
Damn right. I mean, Rome was not built in a day, and I mean, Ameer, you're going into the season with 4 total touchdowns, but I'm seeing quite a more this season. I'm not a fortune teller, but I know I'm probably going to predict, I want to say 12 touchdowns this year.
Oh, man, let's do it. That's Pro Bowl. That's Pro Bowl. That'd be amazing.
And you're a Pro Bowl player. Come on, let's put some respect on Ameer's name.
No, 100%. 100%. I think one thing, another little tip I'll give young players is talent is obviously plentiful in this league. You got so many talented guys right now, and I think it's important to throw that shit away.
Damn right.
Like, throw the idea of like, I got to be more talented than everybody away. Yes, work on your craft, do what you do, try to be the best when you're competing, yes. But what you have to understand is a lot of the league when it comes to success is timing, which that timing comes from everyone being good teammates. Because if you're not a good teammate, you won't galvanize and you won't strike when the iron's hot.
Damn right.
That's the only way you can win big is when timing is cultivated by being a good teammate. So the faster you can get rid of the idea of I got to be the most talented and I got to stand out, the better your season will be, because you'll start to move in one cohesive space with your team, which is most of the time going to lead to the most successful seasons for you. Because coaches see that shit, man. Like, if you're someone who wants the team to win and you're doing what you're asked to do and you're not trying to be special, if they ask you to run a 12-yard hitch and they say plant with this foot and come back downhill, don't try to do all the special shit at the top. Just do it, and the ball's going to come to you, and you got that catch. No one's going to see on that stat sheet that catch also had an extra razzle-dazzle at the top. All it's going to say is he caught the ball. And that comes from allowing the ego to fall off and allowing yourself to actually allow the timing of working with your teammate to bless you naturally.
Yes, sir. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Number 22. I mean, sir, it has been such an honor and privilege chatting with you, man. Now, before we go, the floor is yours. Where can we find your content? Anything you're working on right now? The floor is yours, big fella.
Oh man, I appreciate that. I really do because I look at football personally as just another stroke of my paintbrush. I've always been a creative. I've always been really good at with a camera. I've done cinematography for weddings. I do photography for weddings. I used to back in the day. Now I don't really do too much event photography anymore. I actually write screenplay now. I'm currently writing an animated adult sitcom, mature content similar to like a Rick and Morty or Family Guy. We're in the pre-production stages now, so I can't talk about too much currently, but look for things to be starting to shake up in the fall. Looking for I've been refraining from using the word deadline because I don't like the word dead. We have a lifeline. We have a lifeline expectancy date of August this fall for the first unrolling of the series package to come out here pretty soon. So be on the lookout for a television show that I'm writing, as well as some acting. I got a couple acting roles coming up as well. So film and that space is definitely another stroke of my paintbrush as an artist that I'm expanding on. You can find my content, anything I do just from like my day-to-day stuff on my Instagram handle at Abdiggity. That's ABDIGGITY. And then I'm soon to be getting back on YouTube as well, but just be on the lookout for a couple things, and I'm excited for the season.
A first person to follow Ameer on Instagram and also send me a video or a DM of you watching one of his shorts or his work. I will send you a special care package, and it might just be a Raiders Ameer Abdullah helmet. We'll see.
That's nice. Actually, I dropped a short film last year called Joshua Tree. It's a psychological thriller that I think a lot of people will enjoy. It's actually in the film circuits right now, so it got picked up by a couple film festivals. So more shorts along that line will be coming out as well. So I appreciate that little sub in right there, bro. Appreciate that.
Hey, Joshua Tree, please go check it out. Link to the Joshua Tree, short. Will be in the bio of this YouTube video. It's also in Ameer's Instagram bio, so it's an easy click right there. Check it out. I mean, I'm going to be watching it today. I know what I'm going to be doing. I mean, one more time, big number 22, Ameer Abdullah. Shit. Fear Ameer. I mean, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Until next time, guys, Underdog out.